Welcome to Slow Night, Ancient Tales. Tonight, as the rain gently taps against the window, we journey back to a quiet, gloomy morning. It is a story of hidden feelings, sudden betrayals, and a secret that was never meant to be uncovered. Dim the lights, pull your blanket a little closer, and let the sound of the rain wash over you. Let the tale begin. 1. A rainy morning. Jung-ae was flipping through a magazine when she opened the sliding door once again to look outside. The melancholy rain fell endlessly, showing no sign of stopping. The clouds, painting the sky in pale white, scattered into the distance, yet the clear blue sky remained entirely hidden. A fine drizzle, as thin as strands of hair, drifted hazily through the air like mist. It was Sunday. She had made a firm promise with her friends to visit the zoo. A rare outing, but the cruel rain had washed those plans away. If it had only poured heavily, she might have given up sooner. But because the thin rain merely drizzled, Jung-ae clung to the fragile hope that it might clear up soon. She opened the sliding door over and over, almost wearing out the tracks. A shadow fell over Jung-ae's pretty face, and she muttered to herself in a tearful voice, "It just keeps raining. It is so terribly frustrating." With that, she sharply slid the door shut and picked up her magazine again. Flipping through the remaining pages, she told herself that surely, by the time she finished these last 3 pages, the rain would stop. Pulling her skirt out from under her knees and brushing back the hair that fell over her eyes, Jung-ae quietly began to read. Finally, she finished the chosen pages. A faint look of joy spread across her face as she reached out to open the sliding door once more. However, contrary to her hopes, the rain was still falling. Her heart grew sorrowful and achy, as if she had been deceived. Fooled once and then twice, she now felt a heavy sense of dread before even opening the door. In her ears, the quiet sound of the falling rain seemed to echo deeply. Just then, a bright light began to swirl through the gloomy grayish air, and the faint shadow of the sun appeared. The rain had finally stopped. Startled, Jung-ae stood up and stepped down into the courtyard. The ground was not as muddy as she had expected. Thinking it wouldn't be too late, even if her friends, Hwara and Young-suk, came to get her right now, she hurriedly began to polish her shoes. She put on her polished shoes and was just about to step through the middle gate to check the street outside. Just then, the postman shouted loudly for her to receive a letter, tossing a single envelope to the ground before walking away. 2. An unexpected confession. Jung-ae lightly picked up the letter and looked at the envelope. The sender was written as Kim Young-suk from Enguk-dong. It was a letter from her dear friend, Young-suk. Seeing that she sent a letter instead of coming over after the rain had stopped, Jung-ae figured Young-suk must have written it because she was also upset about the rainy morning. She hastily tore the envelope open. The very beginning of the letter read like this: "Dear Jung-ae, please forgive me." A faint smile graced Jung-ae's lips. Whenever they met, they spoke casually to one another, so seeing the formal, "Dear Jung-ae" in writing felt rather amusing. However, as she continued to read, her eyes grew wide and round. "I know very well that sending a letter like this goes against proper etiquette. I cannot count how many times I wrote this and stopped, or tried to send it and hesitated, but now I can hold it in no longer." Frowning slightly with her delicate eyebrows, Jung-ae read the next line, worried that something terrible had happened at Young-suk's house. "I am lonely. I am desolate. I am like a solitary little boat drifting on the ocean. My dear Jung-ae, please rescue me from this loneliness. The world is wide, and there are many people, but without you, I will be forever lonely and desolate. In short, I love you passionately, and I am asking you to love me back." Having read the letter in a single breath, Jung-ae dropped her hands lifelessly onto her lap. For a moment, her mind went completely blank. Inside the letter was a tender confession, a plea to sit face to face beneath the shadows of spring flowers and to dream of a shared future under the cool autumn moonlight. Deeply moved by this desperate longing, tears slowly began to pool in Jung-ae's heavy eyes. It was precisely at that moment the door swung open and her friend Hwara stepped inside. 3. The stolen secret. Hwara, her face skillfully made up, stepped lightly over the threshold. Jung-ae flinched in surprise and quickly clutched the letter with both hands. Hwara spoke while standing. What are you doing sitting there? Aren't we going to the zoo? The ground has dried up perfectly. Then, noticing the long letter tightly held in Jong-ae's hands, she tilted her head. What kind of letter is that, for you to hold it so preciously? Jong-ae lowered her head, hesitating as if it were terribly difficult to speak. Her face flushed a deep crimson, all the way to her ears. It was only now that Jong-ae vaguely realized that this letter was not from her friend Young-suk, but a confession of love sent by an unknown man, and a sudden wave of embarrassment washed over her. Hwara bent down and stared intently into Jong-ae's face. Seeing her burning cheeks and wet, glistening eyelashes, Hwara grew suspicious. With a swift movement, Hwara snatched the empty envelope resting beside Jong-ae. A letter from Young-suk? What kind of secret is in here that you won't even show me? Hwara examined the handwriting on the envelope closely, then suddenly cried out. This is not Young-suk's handwriting. It is not a woman's writing at all. It is a man's. In that instant, Hwara's face turned pale white. Her gaze toward Jong-ae grew cold and sharp. With a sarcastic, yet bitterly sad smile, Hwara lunged forward, trying to forcefully rip the letter from Jong-ae's grasp. 4. Scattered paper and tears. Jong-ae stepped back, protesting against Hwara forcing her way into someone else's letter, but Hwara relentlessly pulled on the edge of the paper. The soft hands of the two young women collided and tangled in a desperate struggle. Being 2 years older and physically stronger, Hwara eventually twisted Jong-ae's wrist and snatched the letter away. Standing up with the crumpled piece of paper, Hwara smiled like a victor, stepped out onto the wooden porch, and unfolded it to read. Exhausted from the scuffle, Jong-ae felt an unbearable mix of anger and sorrow, as if her most precious secret had been violated. She lunged frantically at Hwara, grabbing her skirt, but Hwara coldly shook her off and slammed the door shut. Without even tying her shoelaces properly, Hwara stormed out of the front gate with heavy steps, as if she were being chased. Jong-ae collapsed blankly in front of the firmly closed door. A piercing sorrow surged within her chest, and tears flowed endlessly down her cheeks. She felt sad and deeply wronged, yet at the same time she was driven mad with curiosity about the true owner of that letter. Before her tear-filled eyes, the words of the first line, "Dear Jong-ae," flickered faintly like a lingering night mist. The night grows deeper, and the echoes of Jong-ae's tears fade into the rain. What would you have done if your deepest secret was snatched away before you even understood it yourself? Thank you for spending this slow night with us. If this tale whispered to your heart, please leave a gentle like and subscribe for more forgotten stories from the past. Until the next dark night, sleep well.